Hello YouTube, Simon here, and something a little bit different than the usual offerings on this channel. But hey, I've just received this bad boy in the post, so I thought we could make a video review, unboxing, etc. about it. Now this is a Hyundai lawnmower, and the model number is HYM510SPEZ. Now this, I believe, is a fairly new model. At least as of today, the 18th of August 2020, I believe this has only been out for a short time. Now, this is actually replacing a previous Hyundai lawnmower that we've been using for several years and we're very happy with, although this does have a number of additional improvements. Now, I'm going to be speaking more about the features in depth as we get onto the assembly and the actual testing of this machine. But in a nutshell, this is a self-propelled petrol lawnmower that has an additional electric start for convenience, along with this front rear axle, which is external to the main lawnmower itself. You can just see it on the illustration there. And that is apparently going to allow us to turn the lawnmower when cutting much more easily than with the traditional axles that are included with these machines. I do have an initial concern, or a couple of initial concerns with that. First of all, because it's external, is it going to be as robust as we would expect? And is that going to stand the test of time when it has pressure put upon it after many uses? And secondly, the other concern is, how is this mower going to operate on these straights? You know, just when you're mowing straight lines, is it going to be wobbling all over the place? Or are we going to have to be constantly engaging the locking mechanism, which is located on the front of those wheels, quite a ways from where you're going to be holding the engine engagement, which means that if you have to use those locking mechanisms, I assume we're going to have to keep starting the lawnmower each time we do so. So yeah, a few things I want to test out once we've got this thing built. I have taken a bit of a punt on this, I'll be honest with you. As of today, August the 18th, 2020, this is still a very new release, and there's not a whole lot of information online in terms of independent reviews. So hey, that's why I'm doing this video, and we'll discover together whether this is really worth the money. But let's go ahead, we'll start with the unboxing, and then we'll get on with assembly. Right, so let's go ahead with the unboxing first of all. Now, I will say that this is a heavy package. The whole thing comes close to 50 kilograms, so you're not going to be lifting it too far by yourself, unless you're some kind of strong person, which I am not. So what I'm going to do is probably open the box around the mower and then assemble it where it sits. Now, you can, of course, use two people for the assembly, but I'm going to show you, you can do it with one. First of all, then we have the grass collection box, so let's get that out of the way. This is actually a 70-litre collection bag, so quite a big one there. Now, Hyundai have been kind enough to include some engine oil to get us started. I say kind enough, let's be honest, they're probably sick of the warranty attempts from previous models, from those that have attempted to start the mower for the first time, having forgotten to put any engine oil in. Now, there's really no excuse to do that. Anyhow, next up we have this bag. This has a bunch of fittings and tools inside, including the battery charge as well. So you will need to charge the battery if you want to use the electric start. And I believe Hyundai say you'll be able to get about 10 mows out of a single charge. Right, so at this point we're going to go ahead and break the box down, and then we'll get to see the mower in all of its glory. Yay! Now, one thing I'm trying to do here is just be a little bit cautious as I break the box down so that it can remain somewhat intact. It just needs taping together, just in case the mower doesn't start or there's some initial issue that means I need to send it back for whatever reason. I'm sure that won't happen, but if it does happen to be the case that that needs to take place, then I'd rather have the original box. So yeah, I won't be keeping it for long, but just until I'm happy that everything's working here. Right, so we've got the mower out, and as you can see, the handle is going to require some assembly here. It's actually quite simple, but it can be a little bit fiddly, but I'll tell you what you need to put where in order to get this set up. And inside our plastic parts bag here, we're going to find some bolts, some washers, and some wing nuts. And that's what we're going to be using, 4 of each. 2 for the first part, or the bottom part of the handle, and then 2 for the middle section as well. So we're going to just move that out of the way as we bend this around. Just be careful as you move this into position here that you don't snag any of the cables. They are all loose right now, so we need to sort those out later. But for the time being, just make sure that nothing's caught, especially as you start bolting things into place here. So having aligned the handles, we can attach the first bolt either in the lowest of the 2 holes, or if we want the overall handle assembly to be just a little bit lower depending on your height. You might want to put it in the hole above, okay, rather than the one at the bottom. And you want to make sure that the head of the bolt is on the outside of the mower on this case, and then the washer and the wing nuts go on the inside. I wouldn't do anything too tight initially because we still need to line up the other side, which I'll go and do now. Okay, so we've got the bottom part of the handle assembly pretty much in place. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and do the next section. And this is going to work pretty much the same way. So once again, these cables are all over the place. Just try not to get them to snag to avoid any damage. And get the holes here to line up with the holes on the first part of the handle assembly that we've already put in place. Now this time we're going to be doing things in reverse. So that means that the bolt is going to have its head on the inside of the frame, and the washer and the wing nut are going to be placed onto the outside of the frame. And with all four of these bolts and wing nuts in place, we now have a rigid lawnmower assembly. Nice! But we've still got this nest of cables, which is actually a lot easier to sort out than maybe initially expected, so don't worry too much about that. But let's go ahead now and just start grouping everything up. We're going to be using the clips. And then we're going to group the cables on each side into the clip and then attach the clip to the metal assembly pole. And then, as I say, we just repeat that on the other side. So there's 2 cables on the one side and then 3 on the other. And that just keeps everything nice and neat there. Next up, we're going to move the pull cord into position. So you can use this to start the engine if you don't want to use the electric start. But Hyundai do recommend disconnecting the spark plug before you fiddle with this, just in case you inadvertently start the engine. And seeing as how there's no oil in there right now, that would be a bad thing. The cord itself can be stiff, so you might have to give it a good tug. But what you want to do is loop it behind, I'll show you that again, behind the black hook here, okay? And once it's behind, you can then loop it round to the front, and then the plastic handle will slot nicely in there, and you can just store it safely then with the handle in this position, and then obviously you can use it to start the mower if you don't want to use that electric start. Next up, we have these 2 loose cables which need to be attached to the handlebars. Now the one on top is the OPC cable and the one underneath is the drive cable. So starting with the OPC cable, the one on top, this is going to attach to the handlebar that's closest to the engine. And what I find to help make this easier is it's best to actually remove the handle from the frame, just bend it out, and then you can loop the cable into position there, the OPC cable. And then we'll do exactly the same with the drive cable. So just pull the back handle out of position and then loop the drive cable through the little hole there, and then you can reposition the handle back into place. So it's quite a simple process, but until taking those handles out, you're going to be fighting a losing battle trying to get those looped in. Now, once they are connected, these handlebar levers should be quite taut, and there shouldn't be a whole lot of play in them. This one does seem to have a little bit of play in it compared to the drive handle, which is very rigid. So you can adjust these and tighten them if need be down by the engine. There are some adjustment nuts that you can have a play about with. Next up, I attach the central plastic connector. I couldn't record that as trying to do it with one hand was impossible, but it only required 2 screws, so it was fairly simple. And with that, everything is pretty much in place, so we can start adding the oil. Now, the capacity for the engine is 600 millilitres, and the oil that Hyundai give us is a tub of 600 millilitres. Who'd have thought? So we'll start by removing the dipstick, which does strangely already seem a little bit oiled up, but that might have just been greased for the engine. Anyway, one thing that is a little bit weird is they've got this notice, this warning leaflet you can see there stuck on the oil cap, which says use unleaded petrol, no oil. Very, very strange and confusing, but this is definitely where the oil goes. So I'm going to use this funnel to avoid spillages. I'd recommend you do something similar, as this stuff, you don't want it all over the outside of the mower or necessarily all over your hands. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just pour the whole tub in now. Oil is very thick if you haven't really used it before, so just do it a little bit at a time so that you don't overflow, whatever it is that you're pouring it into until it has time to drain down. So I'll just pour that in slowly and we'll get it all in there. And with oil in the engine, we're going to need to leave that to settle, but that's absolutely fine, because while it's doing that, we can go ahead and charge the battery. So I don't know if the mower comes with a charger or not, but I'm going to stick it on charge anyhow. The manual says the mower, or the battery rather, can take 6 hours to charge to full. So I'll leave it on there for a few hours, and then we'll take this thing outside and give it a whiz. Welcome to a few days later. So, as I'm sure as will come as no surprise to many of you, we have just had some usual British typical weather of rain and storms and the like, which made mowing pretty much impossible. But I woke up this morning to this beautiful clear day and it's really hot outside, so I thought a perfect opportunity to test out our new toy here. Now, as you can see, our lawn is quite a large size. It's actually probably bigger than is recommended for these type of self-propelled petrol mowers, but I find that they still do a better job than the sit-on, ride-on type, which just tend to churn the ground up a little bit, and of course they're so bloody expensive. But anyway, the Hyundai mower here is at about a medium height, maybe a little bit higher than a medium height. I don't want it too low right now for the first run, especially because the ground is a little bit soggy still from the rain. Now, one of the features I was looking forward to testing out was the front wheels that have their own easy turn built into them. Because as you can see, you know, our ground, it's fairly uneven. There's obstacles, there's islands, there's trees, there's a pond. There's just all manner of fixed items in the way that we do need to turn around. It does make mowing a little bit of a chore, you know, perhaps more than it is on other lawns that are just nice and flat and have nothing in the way. So yeah, that easy turn was quite an appealing feature to me. And yeah, it does make a difference. You are very much able to pivot the mower pretty much on its spot and just move your way around various obstacles like trees and stuff without too much trouble. One thing to note though, because for the last few years I've been using a previous Hyundai self-propelled petrol mower that doesn't have that easy turn, I was very much in the habit of lifting up the front wheels in order to turn the mower and pivot it, and that is a habit that is hard to break out of, I'll be honest, as you can see. Rather than actually making use of that feature of the easy turn, I still found myself regularly lifting up the mower in order to move it, but that's more to do with the habit I got into rather than the way it should be done. So as we get used to that, and as I get used to that, I'm pretty sure that I'll be making even more use of those front wheels there. And just in case you thought I had the ability to regenerate into a younger version of myself, I'm afraid I do not. But of course, when you get a new lawnmower like this, then everybody wants to have a go, so the whole family does get involved. Of course, safety has to come first, which is why I've set the mower to a much slower speed for my stepson here. Now, as you can see, that is a feature that is available. There are 4 speeds for the self-propelled, so depending on your needs, who's using the mower, how big your lawn is, and it's just nice to have that feature since it gives you a little bit more precision and a little bit more control. Now, as for the electric start, this is the first lawnmower I've ever had that has this electric start, and by golly, it makes a difference. It really does. So there's actually no primer on this mower. On my previous mower, you would have to prime the engine with, you know, 4 or 5 pushes of the pump before it would start. With this, you don't have to do anything like that. All you need to do is pop the choke into the start position if it's the first time you're starting the mower in a while, and then just hold the red button down for the electric start, and it pretty much powered up straight away. In fact, it did power up first time for me, so very, very impressed with that. And as soon as the engine's warmed up, you just move that choke from the start into the run position, and once you put your self-propelled on, you're off. It is really, really easy. In terms of cutting options, there are multiple heights you can set the blade to. It's recommended that you don't cut the grass more than half of its original length. You can use the grass bag to collect the grass, as I'm doing here. It can hold up to 70 litres, but be warned, it does get heavy, so make sure you stay on top of emptying it. Or instead of using the grass bag, you can mulch the lawn by putting the included mulcher into position, and that will keep the grass nicely nutriented up, if that's a phrase I can use. And there's no side discharge option with this mower. And one feature I do want to talk about here at the end is that once you've gone ahead and mowed the lawn, you can attach a standard garden hose to this special connector that's just above the blade here. And what this does is, keeping water away from the engine, is it actually allows the blade, while it's spinning here, to clean the underside of the mower. So if you've got any clumps of grass that have been picked up, or whatever the case may be, then this is a fantastic and very fast way of just going ahead there and cleaning the underside of the mower so that that grass doesn't, you know, build up and that over time. And as you can see, it was a very, very simple process. And I've got to say, it does a really good job. So I don't know if this is standard on all the Hyundai mowers. I know that our previous mower, you couldn't do this. You did have to lift the mower up each time at the end of the mow, just to pull out the grass from the blade and stuff before it started sticking. But yeah, it's a nice little thing, so I thought it was worth mentioning. And I'll just show you there the underside very quickly. You can see that all those clumps of grass have been washed away. Right, so overall then, guys, I am very impressed with this mower. It is a big improvement over the last Hyundai mower we've been using, but most of those improvements do come in the quality of life changes that, are part of the higher price tag. So you have the electric start, the front easy turn wheels, the hose connector that we just saw. But on top of that as well, it does have a slightly more powerful engine at 196cc. The last mower we had was, I think, 173. And the fact that you don't need to prime the engine before starting is a nice bonus as well. And I'm suspecting we're going to get a more consistent start every time we want to use this mower. But overall, in the long term, we're going to have to see if this thing does stand the test of time. So if you guys want to see an update, perhaps in a few months' time, then please do let me know down in the comments. But if you own this mower or a similar model, then please do share your own thoughts down below. Thanks for stopping by, checking out the video. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.